Hi everybody. Just wanted to make sure that I was live. I don't know how it's looking from your point, but I can say that it is a little bit blurry here. Well, I hope it's not too bad, and I hope at least you can hear what I'm saying. So yeah, welcome to my kitchen. Today I'm going live from here, and I'm trying to use the computer instead of my phone, just to see if the sound will get a little bit better. So it's been a while. I've been busy and writing my books, traveling, doing courses, and yeah, it's been truly amazing. Of course, I miss doing my lives. Hopefully, they help when people watch them. But let's see. So if I'm a little bit rusty, that's why. Um, I want to I want to address the thing about fear today. So fear is two-sided for all of us. We have the rational, healthy fear, and then we have the irrational and very unhealthy fear. So, what is the difference? Well, the healthy fear is the fear you're born with, the fear that makes you run if you should meet a lion going on your walk somewhere or something other that could endanger you in any way. So that is really healthy. It's a signal you're getting that you need to flee because there's some danger. This is perfectly fine and very healthy, and you need that to survive. Otherwise, we wouldn't be able to live on this beautiful planet. So the other thing is the irrational fear, which we also all have. It's a way to for some people to be present in the world, being controlled by fear. And this is what I'm going to be addressing, and this is what I'm going to focus on today. So, fear, like what triggers fear? What are your fears? Do you have fear around not being loved? Do you have fear about lacking? Do you have fear about it can be kind of anything, and some people have fears around everything, all the time. So they live in this constant fear, and that's super unhealthy, not only for your well-being and your mental health, but also for your body, because it produces a lot of stress hormones, and eventually your body will start either shutting down or compensating in some way, and that can result in pain. I will be addressing mostly the mental part of fear today. So, we all experience fear in some way. It can stem from childhood, it doesn't have to be trauma, it can just be um, things we are taught. When we go out the door, when we are young, we always hear, be safe, stay safe, don't talk to strangers. So fear is installed in us from society and our loved ones from we are very young. Uh, and most of that fear is very irrational. So a fear of not talking to strangers is maybe beneficial when you're not very old, but as you get to be an adult, it doesn't really make sense anymore. And when we get to live controlled by fear, we give away the power to our own happiness and to the love we can actually experience in this life. So, what can cause fear? Well, of course, from the childhood, but if, for instance, you already experienced it in terms of anxiety or just feeling nervous, tense, frustrated, things that can trigger things like this is most often when we react to an outer circumstance instead of staying within our own frame. So it can be stress from constantly reacting to outer circumstances. It can be fatigue. So one important thing is to be very aware of how you are experiencing the world and how you are showing up in the world, and how much you're actually reacting. And I'm not talking about reaction to somebody, a person or anything like that. I'm talking about how you're reacting on the inside. Are you feeling nervous? Are you feeling doubt? Are you feeling worry? So most of my fear is actually about worry and doubt. I had this installed in me from very young. I would call it lag thinking. This means that I often have to catch myself before my thoughts just start running off with me. For instance, if there's a situation where surrounding, it could be like, let's say a money issue, and I'm, for instance, doing some work and I'm getting some money in, then I can start thinking very negative and think about what if they suddenly don't want to pay, or so I have this constant fear around, or doubting and worrying that everything will go all right. And it's silly because it's something that is being made up in my mind. It's only in my thought. It has nothing to do with what's actually going on in the experience world, but it's something that I'm projecting on, to my own. And then I can walk around and get worried about this and stressed about this, instead of just thinking everything is well, everything will be fine. So fear can show up in many different ways. I will say most people have a fear around not being good enough, not being loved, not being enough. We all have fears, and the matter is, do we face them? And how do we face them? So the solution is all, I would say, almost always within the problem. Because if you don't face your fear, if you don't build up the courage to actually face them, they will control you. Maybe not 100%, but even 30% isn't that too much. So I think we should see our fears as a guide. We should look at it and really question what is it our fears are telling us? Are we being fearful for no reason? Or is it something that we really need to address? So look at it and question it, and try to sit with it and be okay with whatever feeling comes along. And I know that that can be super scary, especially if you experience anxiety. I've been there myself. And you just have this running fear. But the thing is, if you really stop and look at it for a moment, nothing is going on besides inside yourself. In most cases, that is. So your fear is a guide for you to let you know what's going on inside you, to let you know what you need to work on, your beliefs about yourself and your life, your self-image, your self-love. Most often fears are grounded in lack of self-love and a poor self-image, low self-worth. It's somehow signaling that we don't trust, be it ourselves or others. But if we don't trust others, it's most oftenly because we also don't trust ourselves. So go within yourself and try to just question the thoughts you're having, question the feelings that you're having. Try to see what is this about, And maybe try flip it upside down and look at, so my fear is around, let's say, self-doubt. um, I don't believe that anything will go well for me. Try to flip it around. What if everything actually went well for you? How would that look like? You see, you got to take control of that beautiful mind with all those thoughts. And also ask yourself, what proof do you have that kind of prove your fears to be right? What proof do you have? Most often, the only proof we have is in our head. And we have a tendency to change the story that we have been part of so it fits the self-image and beliefs that we have. So really look at it from, and maybe write it down and say, what proof do I actually have for this, this thing that I'm feeling right now? It takes the edge off, because the minute you start inserting another kind of thinking into your mind, you change the fear thoughts, because your brain can only have one thought at a time. I know we tend to think that we can have multiple, but that's not true. You can only have one. Notice your body language, I will say. Notice where are your shoulders when all of this fear is kind of eating you up from the inside. Are they on the ears, or are they relaxed and back? And notice your breathing. Try just to take one deep breath. Just one, just to see what happens. Most often, when we start focus on our breathing, those thoughts of fear will pretty quickly disappear. Because again, the mind can't focus on multiple things at a time. So these are just small exercises that you can use, which I have used myself multiple times. I still use them because I still get fear triggered or I trigger myself. So I see my fear as a blessing, because I remember when I used to have anxiety and it was really horrible. And I feel for everybody out there who's feeling any form of anxiety. It was a spiral that just started, and I felt I had no control of it. Until the moment that I understood that this is just something that is being made up in my mind, because that's how my brain works. My brain works, so it has to make up stories that fits what has been recurring previous. It's just repeating an old pattern, basically. So the whole idea is to change this pattern. And the way we start recognizing or observing our body language. We also have to start observing the thoughts. Question them. Don't just buy into them. I know that they are in your head, but this is how our magnificent brain works. And that can be very difficult and seem unfair, but it's actually a beautiful tool when we start using it for our own benefit instead of our own suffering. And what your fear can tell you, it can give you a hint about the stuff you need to work on. And when you start contemplating and asking questions, you will most often end in a place where you can actually see what the fear is about and what belief you have about yourself, which triggers these fears in some way. So by starting asking questions, you're also starting getting to know yourself. And that is a good thing. There are so many people who actually don't know themselves, and they just accept the fact that parts of their life are so controlled by fear. And it's such a shame, because it can It can change, but the only one who can change is ourselves. So listen to your body, use the knowledge it's giving to you. It's true. It truly is a gift when you start using it like this. And I can say it because I've done it myself. So why is it that we, what is it that fear gives us? Most often fear gives us a sense of control. It gives us a sense of control in the way that at least it's recognizable. And it can also steer us into a very controlling behavior, controlling others, trying to control outcome. But fear is never the solution to this. The only time fear is really validated is when you have to flee for something, otherwise your life would be in danger or your health would be in danger. So this can become pretty messy, I will say, because the minute you start trying to control and be led by your fear, that's the minute you give your power truly away. And for instance, when it comes to fear and love, which are completely different ends of the scale, opposite ends of the scale, love is not fear. It isn't. If you truly love, fear is not there. If you love and you fear to lose that love, then it's more fear than it's love. Because if we truly love from the deepest place within us, we don't have that fear, because it doesn't matter what anybody else does. We love from what we have in us and not from what the other person is giving us or what they're not giving us or what we're afraid of not getting or losing. I think that is really interesting, because how many times have we in our lives been controlled by fear, in the sense that we try to project this onto other people and then kind of portray it as love and say it's just because I love this person so much I'm afraid of losing them. But it's not love, it's control and it's fear. So another way it can come to express itself is by us trying to compensate for the unworthiness, the unlovable, all of those things we feel. But the thing is, we have nothing to compensate for. You are perfect. We're all perfect. Fear is if you really look at it, where is fear? It's often not outside yourself, is it? It's often not in your experience. It's most often, if not always, in your mind, in your thoughts. It lives here. And the only one who can stop it from living here is you. So, what does that tell us? That tells us that fear is actually not real. It's something made up inside our minds. And I'm not talking about people who are in danger or people who live in abusive households and stuff like that. That is real fear. That's where you need the fear so you can run. I'm talking about the fear that is there when there's nothing threatening you from the outside. It's not real. It's just in your mind. I know it can feel real, but that is because the body works this way. You have a thought, fearful thought, and the body produces the feeling that is suitable for that thought. And the brain loves repeating itself because it saves energy. And it's pretty lazy, actually. So trying to have a perspective where fear is not real, even though it can seem real, allows you to start questioning it and seeing it for what it really is. We make it feel real. We make it feel real by the emotions we apply to it, and the emotions that we attach. And that's the way it feels real. Because if you had no emotion around fear, you wouldn't feel anything. Or you wouldn't care, basically. We're sometimes, I would say, more busy coming up with valid reasoning to stay in the fear than just be us with all that we come with, all the beauty, all the love. And that makes sense thinking about the society we live in, but the thing is, that should not control who you are and what you feel. Just enjoy life. And the only person who needs to validate you is yourself. That's it. That's the only person who is capable of validating you, because that's the only person who knows you. And it's not unique. Like we all have this in some extent, but the thing is, what are we doing about it? And it's very painful, I would say, when you live from fear, because you become a prisoner in your own body and mind. So it becomes a way of living, and it becomes a new normal. And this is where it really takes some courage to face that fear, to look it in the eyes and stare it down, and really have the courage to question if, as I said, if it's real and if it's something that you want to keep doing, basically. Because it comes down to a choice of how do you want to live your life? You want to be controlled by fear? Or do you want to take your power back and live in joy and happiness, at least most of the time? So I think the very simple way to go about it is to face it by observing what's actually going on. What's your body language? What's your thoughts? Use the techniques you have from nature. Breathe. Breathe. Take your shoulders down. Relax. Chill. And keep doing it, because most of the time we live like this for years, not even realizing that it's a problem, because we just assume that this is who we are and this is just me. We just accept it, even though it's not very nice. It's very painful, and we suffer. But we only suffer to the extent that we're really willing to accept. So ask yourself, what is it you're so scared about? And do you have proof of it? And what proof do you have? Start asking yourself these questions next time fear comes up. And I promise you, you can turn it into one of your biggest strengths instead of something controlling you. I'm not going to talk much more about this. I want to keep it really simple. So it can be useful for as many people as possible. I'm sorry for not being live for a long time. I will try to get back to my usually every other week, hopefully more in the coming next month. So until then, thank you so much if you watched this video to the end, and you can always watch more or go and see more about my work and my books and my courses on my webpage. It's in the comment. And if you have any questions or you have any subjects that you think would be worth for me and you to talk about, then please reach out. And besides that, have a beautiful, beautiful Monday evening. Thank you. Bye.